What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Bring the Thunder podcast recap. OKC just defeated the Spurs 146 to 132. We got myself, we got Satvir, Landon, and Joe here, and we're just going to break down the game, answer some live questions, and just go from there. So, anybody want to go ahead and kick us off here?
Yeah, I could start it off. Another game where in the beginning the other team wants to shoot the lights out. I mean, a franchise record. I mean, think about that. A San Antonio Spurs franchise record for three-pointers in the first half. I believe they had 16. They finished with 18. So this is becoming a common trend. But let's not really get into that much right now. I don't want to. I'd like to get into Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Cason Wallace and Aaron Wiggins and all the above. I mean, an outstanding offensive night. Really happy to see them take care of a weaker San Antonio defense without Wemby. Jalen Williams, career high 41, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, no turnovers. I believe Shai, I don't even have it pulled up, but Shai went for 30+.
Yep,
31, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 0 turnovers.
Yep.
I was wrong. If Cason Wallace can shoot like this and play like this, he had 19 points on 50% from the field, 50% from three. He needs to be in the starting lineup, and we'll have Wiggs come off the bench, who also shoots 50% from the field, 5 of 8 from three for 17 points. This team's loaded offensively. We didn't even have Chet tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great win.
Yeah, we also didn't have Dort for the second half of the third and the end of the fourth, and still took care of business more. But one thing I kind of want to address once again, which I actually addressed it in a recap not that long ago. This is not just our fans. I'm not dogging on our fans, but I'm seeing way too many OKC fans that are freaking out at halftime of games, saying it's over, we've lost, this game's over, we're terrible. Like, I know you're exaggerating, and I know people are saying that. Stop. Please stop. When we lose a bad game, we can be freaked out. This team, and I saw people saying that we didn't play a good game, and that just that fourth quarter was good. We played a good game. We had issues, yes. Our defense was lacking in that first half. We were definitely giving them some open threes in the corners, especially. They were also on fire. Everybody on that team was hitting shots. That was not just our defense. Jeremy Sohan drained a three. That dude's like a 32% three-point shooter at best.
The broadcast mentioned that on ESPN.
Yeah, he is not a good three-point shooter. So, sure, our defense needed to step it up, but we played a good game through all 4 quarters. We just had inconsistent moments at times, but OKC fans that are freaking out, stop, guys. Like, seriously, quit freaking out. Quit saying the game's over. Be patient. This is a second-half team. We've proved it over and over and over again. We ended up winning the game by 14 points, adding on to that giant margin of victory that we have this season. This team has the highest margin of victory in NBA history right now, and we got people saying at halftime that it's over because we're down by 4 points. Stop. Seriously, this is starting to really frustrate me that we have so many fans like this. I get frustrated. Do not get me wrong. I get frustrated and I comment about it. I will never just be like, it's over. We're terrible. We suck, dude. It's over. Stop. Please stop. So that is one of the biggest things I wanted to mention. But other than that, I mean, yeah, great game all around offensively. I wanted to talk about something on the Spurs side really quick. Stephon Castle is a dog. That guy is incredible. You're hearing this from an OKC fan. That move on Hartenstein was disgusting, dude. I literally stood up as if I was a Spurs fan and was in awe. That guy is incredible. We've talked about it multiple times. He's going to be an all-star. That guy is going to be a great player. I can't believe how good.
Yeah, OKC has their hands full for years to come with him and Fox and Wemby. They got something brewing over there for sure.
Absolutely.
Hopefully the blood clot thing doesn't become a long-term issue for Wemby. I would hate to see that.
Sure, because they kept showing him on the bench today, and he looked depressed, man. I felt so bad for him. I mean, that just sucks, dude. Such an unfortunate and random injury that's so unrelated to basketball. That's just terrible, man.
He's similar to Chet in the way that he wants to be on the court for Wembanyama. So it's really sad to see guys that are just true hoopers.
Just two guys who live and breathe basketball.
Yeah. It really sucks. I'm going to address one of the comments here that we got on YouTube. Steve's Fly said, What do you all think will go forward with Chet and Jay Hart? I like the ball movement better than Jay Hart and a better defense, or with Jay Hart. My apologies. That's an interesting question. Does anybody else want to kind of?
So I'm assuming I Hart.
Yeah, I was assuming that as well.
Yeah, I could definitely answer that question. So we saw it in Atlanta the other night, and I think it looked pretty damn good with iHeart coming off the bench and Chet running the first unit. I mean, Chet's generational, man. He's an unbelievable player, and we need him to be healthy for the rest of the season and in the playoffs, because if he's not our second best player, he's our third. If he's, so I'd like to see that happen with Kaysen and or Wiggins starting. I'm leaning towards Kaysen right now, which I've changed my mind on because Kaysen's proven me wrong recently. But he's right. The ball movement might be a bit better with iHeart, but the defense is better with Chet. But after what we saw from J-Dub tonight, J-Dub and iHeart can run that second unit, and we will have the most stacked roster in the NBA by far. So,
I've been preaching. Keep in mind the championship formula, though. A lot of championship teams have that 6-man off the bench that all he does is just score, and that's Aaron Wiggins. The guy just finds ways to score. Don't get me wrong; he's a great defender too, though. Yeah,
and he's turning into a absolute sniper from three, as well as his driving capabilities and his mid-range. So, Wiggins off the bench looks definitely like the move, but obviously he's going to get a lot of minutes, and he's going to put some pain on other teams, and I love it.
Yeah, I was personally really happy tonight with Ujman's minutes. Dude was great in the minutes that he got to play. He knocked down some shots. He had that amazing block, which I would like to say is ridiculous that they didn't give us the ball for that. Wiggins clearly had the basketball, and instead we had to do a jump ball. That was frustrating as heck, but that block was outstanding. I love that Mark trusted and challenged it, because that was wow.
I'm actually really happy you brought up Ousmane Dieng, because I think he might deserve minutes with this team. I'm not sure about playoff minutes. I'd still probably trust Jay will, but I mean, he can shoot the hell out of the ball, and he's a long, tall guy who plays the right way. Won't try.
It was ticking me off because the Spurs had De'Aaron Fox guarding him, and we wouldn't expose that. It was making me kind of upset.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily much to expose there yet, because I don't know about Uz's one-on-one game, but I like the way he flows with the game plan, and I wouldn't mind seeing him on the court more.
I agree with that, and especially with a one-on-one game against someone like Fox, I do think Fox has such quick hands that he can make that difficult for Uz. But in general, I absolutely agree with you, Joe. I don't really see a reason why we don't at least give him a few more minutes in games, especially like this. Like tonight, for example, again, not to call out Kenny, like I love Kenny, but I like that Uz gets more minutes than Kenny in this game tonight. Like Uz was just proving more with his minutes tonight than Kenny was, and nothing against Kenny. Again, he was hustling. He got 3 boards in his 10 minutes, but Uz just looked polished tonight, which is something that we've really been waiting for as Thunder fans, as he's been this big project player. But I mean, the dude's like 6'9" with a guard skill set. Like if he can just find
tonight.
Yeah, if he can just find his rhythm, I think he'll be a great player, and there's no way he's going to find it if we don't give him a chance. So I agree with that, Joe. Yeah, go on.
Before, I'm going to ask if you guys have anything else specifically on this game that you wanted to get out of the way, because I wanted to mention something that not necessarily has to do with this game. So if you do, go ahead. But
all right, I'll go ahead and mention a couple stats before we kick it back to Joe here. So the Thunder finished 11-11 for the rest of the season, which is 500. We would actually win 60 games, which would match our, franchise record. So that's really impressive for us at this point in the season, that we really have that opportunity, and we're obviously going to blow past it. We'll probably be around 66 to 67 wins to end the season, prediction-wise. And then also the Spurs, like you were mentioning, Joe, shot 16 for 26 in the first half from 3. And in the second half, they only made 2 for 17 from 3. I mean, that's really impressive. And
still finished around 40%, I want to say.
Yeah, exactly. So it's still a testament to our defense when we really want to lock it in those third quarters. We're truly capable of doing that. We're improved to 49-11. This is our 3rd straight win. So we're kind of, off that catastrophic loss, and then we go on a win streak. And it's something that I mentioned to the Thunder fans, like, we'll have losses, and the only way we have the losses is due to some crazy turn of events is usually what I've seen. And then we go on a great win streak. And that's kind of what the season has shown us. And we're also 10.5 game lead over the second seed Denver Nuggets. And the Denver Nuggets are officially closer to the 10 seed than they are to us.
Oh, man.
So I don't want to hear fans talk about MVP moving forward.
Great stat. I'm just going to answer one of these comments in the Instagram at rj.tap. Is Chet hurt, or are they still giving him rest days? Chet sprained his ankle. I don't think it's that bad of a sprain. I mean, he was warming up tonight, so that was definitely a great sign. I give him a few more games off to get him back in.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad injury from the reporting that I've seen. And as far as from an update standpoint, maybe a week max, 2 weeks if they're really particular about it. But when he went out with the sprained ankle, it was mainly he left the game mainly for rest reasons. Right. So this was definitely a rest reason as well. So he should be back pretty soon.
Right. Yeah, again, he also, sorry, Gabe, but I was just going to mention, he also did finish that first half, and he looked pretty decent. So I wouldn't be too worried about it.
Yeah, for sure. Mark also mentioned before this game started tonight that it will be a short-term injury, that is not long-term. So getting that directly from Mark is really good to hear. Right?
There you go.
So yeah, that's good to hear. There was one more thing I want to mention about this game before I let you go, Joe. Yeah. The vibe, I keep talking about this guy, and I will keep talking about him because I just love having him on this team. But the vibe that Alex Caruso brings to this team just gets me so excited, man. I mean, he didn't have he was effective tonight. 10 points in his 20 minutes didn't feel like – it felt like he did a lot more than that all around, but it just felt like when we really needed him, he just continued to step up. He had both of those really totally beating the defense back plays where we got a free layup because he just ran and hustled. I mean, the amount of hustle and just heart that this guy brings to this team is something that I'm never going to undervalue. And I think it's really easy to do that for a player like him since he's more of an off the stats type of player. So just Alex Caruso, man, what a player. I just love having him on this team. But that was the last thing.
Yeah, I can mention that name too. I think a lot of these Thunder fans on these socials overreact a bunch, and they don't give Alex Caruso the credit that he deserves. And I just want to tell them now that they're gonna see a different level of Alex Caruso presence in the playoffs. He's gonna be a big time player for OKC in the playoffs, especially already having a Finals championship ring, and he's with the playoff experience. He's gonna be crucial for OKC in the playoffs. So give the guy some slack if he has an off night shooting. All right, we don't need Alex Caruso to be a lights out shooter. That's not what we brought him in for. So just relax a bit. But really great offensive game tonight. I mean, probably one of the best I've seen in a really long time. Here's the one thing I do want to mention, and please, like I said, these people on social, don't go crazy. I just want to bring it up. The last few games, it's been a mix of teams shooting historically well in the first half, and it's also been a bit of lazy defense. I'm going to bring up maybe our last 5 scores or so in just a second because here it is. So dating back to the first game against Minnesota out of the break, we let up 123 points. And then Minnesota, again, we let up 131. Against the Brooklyn Nets, we let up 121. Against the Atlanta Hawks, we let up 119. And then tonight against the Spurs, we let up 132 points. So as I was saying, a lot of these teams have been shooting the lights out of the damn ball, but it's also a mix of lazy, nonchalant defense. And I think they are getting a bit comfortable knowing that they're probably going to beat every team that they play against, especially these lower level teams as Brooklyn, Atlanta, and San Antonio without Wemby. But I need them to lock back in. I know we have that game on Monday against the Rockets and the Grizzlies, so hopefully they lock back in because it's almost playoff time, baby, and we can't be messing around like this anymore. Yeah. And don't take that the wrong way. I'm not saying we have a shit defense because we have an outstanding defense. It's just lately it's been meh.
Yeah. I agree though. I don't think it's one thing or the other. I think it's a combination of lazy defense and also teams are gonna step up against us and hit shots they wouldn't typically hit. We're the number 1 seed in the Western Conference by a very large margin. So obviously there's gonna be some added motivation and fire to beat us.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that we just keep seeing, especially with the issue with our defense in this case, is we were talking about earlier, but the zone, it's just not working. I mean, Joe, you kind of mentioned earlier with the corner threes, that's what killed us in the playoffs last year. So why are we reverting to that again in some scenarios? Because it's going to keep going to the corner, and they're going to keep hitting corner threes. Like tonight, that was a big thing that, like, despite San Antonio just shooting the lights out, they absolutely were getting open corner three shots, and they were hitting them. So
yeah, I mean, I was mentioning earlier, I don't know what the problem is sometimes. It's not even that we go into zone sometimes. It looks like we're in zone when we're playing man defense, the amount of corner threes they get. It's odd. I don't know where it comes from, but
it's coming from Mark. It's just a philosophy. It's just what he believes defensively. And
that's damn true because it's been happening since date back to last year. So,
well, I mean, that's like by the technicality of basketball, a corner three is one of the hardest shots that you can take. You can't hit the backboard. You can't use it. You have to hit it perfectly straight on. But at the same time, it is technically closer overall as well. So it's kind of like I get what you're saying with the philosophy, Savir. Like technically, yeah, a corner shot is a shot you don't hate giving up in that scenario, in that philosophy. But when we've seen it fail so many times and literally watched it drive us into the dirt in the playoffs, it's just really frustrating that we keep seeing it happen.
But yeah, it's a hard shot. But there's been guys throughout NBA history they actually shoot a higher percentage from the corner than anywhere else along the 3-point line. So it's not a shot that can just go ignored.
Yeah, I think there should be more maybe balance towards the idea, but I don't see that changing considering, he's the coach and they're going to follow the game plan. So one thing I wanted to mention real quick was Dub obviously getting his 41 points, 6 and 7, and then SGA over here with 31, 4 and 8. But something that Thunder PR put out real quick was they both had 30-plus points. First time in the season, both players 30-plus points on a roster without any turnovers. So really impressive from both of these guys. On a night like this, we really needed the 0 turnovers to get this victory. And something I've also noticed of Shea that I haven't mentioned on any of the other live streams or podcasts or anything like that is he's kind of been lackadaisical on the turnovers. I try not to be too critical of him, but I have noticed some uncharacteristic turnovers. And of course, he's a high usage guy, but they're a little bit more unnecessary turnovers. So I'm happy to see him with 0.
Yeah, carrying off of that, OKC as a team tonight only had 7. So, I mean, really clean on the offensive side, and which a little bit better defense was played tonight. But I also just wanted to add one more thing about tonight's game. I'm going to pin this comment from the YouTube just for a second here because – and I'll explain why. We have a guy named Aaron Wiggins who has developed into an absolute beast for this team off the bench or starting, wherever he's playing, offensively and pretty solid defense. This is another game where he scores 17. So starting March now, he's scored every game in March double digits. He scored every game in February double digits. Now we're continuing that trend over to March. He had some big-time threes in this game, especially when the lead was, short or we were down at maybe in the second or third quarter. But and he's consistently come up and hit some big-time threes in close games. So I'm really starting to trust this guy, and if he continues to play like this, that comment is true.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a fair assumption to say. It's funny. I feel like we say this every single episode that he ends up hitting a clutch time 3 because he does. I mean, it feels like every time we get that lead kind of not where we want it to be and we desperately need something, Wiggins checks in, cashes a 3. I mean, it's almost like you see him catch it and go up with it, and you just feel good. You're like, that's in. And
I noticed something tonight too. I always mention how much confident he's been, and he just keeps getting more and more confident game by game. When he was shooting those threes tonight, the ones that went in, 5 for 8, by the way, I think I mentioned that earlier, but every one that went in, you saw after he shot it, when the ball came off his hands, he knew it. He knew it. You could just watch it. I mean, that is just outstanding production from Aaron Wiggins recently.
He's made strides since last season. It is not the same player. He has made improvements.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the number one improvement is confidence, to be honest.
Yeah.
And minutes.
He's always had the skill set where he does crazy spin moves in the past, and we've seen him just be like, he has that profile of being an offensive player that can really generate a lot of offense, but he's just not done it at a consistent level. And so, he's doing that this year, and it's only going to continue here from like here on out because, like you mentioned, Joe, like the confidence is there, and as long as he has that, like he can only go up. So.
And so are the minutes. I just wanted to mention one more thing too, guys. I mentioned it before, but I want to stress it one more time. Cason Wallace went 4 for 8 from 3 tonight, 19 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, steal, sick pass when he was getting trapped by 2 guys and chucked it down the whole court to Caruso. But there was a game last year in the playoffs where I was like, okay, this guy could be something real special for us. And it was actually the game in Dallas. I believe it was game 5 in Dallas. We were down, and Shea and Cason were the 2 guys that really pulled that game away for us. If Cason can consistently produce from the 3-point line especially, and he's looking much more confident driving to the rim and with the ball in his hands, that's just another guy that these teams have to deal with because he's an all-NBA defender. Yeah. And then if he's going to hit 4 threes nightly, he doesn't need 4, but if he's hitting 50% nightly and driving to the rim and making the right plays and not throwing the ball to the other team, this team is fully ready to roll offensively.
Yeah. Well, I've preached that if a casual NBA fan watches a Thunder game and doesn't know who Cason Wallace is, you would not know he's a second-year player. He's so calm and collected. He plays like he's been in the NBA for about 8 seasons. He plays like a veteran.
Yeah. He's only 21 years old.
He's a player of few mistakes. It's rare you watch a Thunder game and see Cason Wallace make a mistake.
I promise this is the last thing I'm going to add. Just a certain play that stuck with me. Towards the end of the game, when J-Dub had 38 points and passed up that layup to Caruso for 3, I literally stood up and started clapping. Like, awesome. That was exactly what you like to see. We talk about Shea doing that all the time, but J-Dub being 2 points away from his first 40 bomb, and instead of taking what would have been a pretty tough contested layup, he finds the open guy and he gets the 3. Then he gets his 40 down the floor a couple plays later. That is, if that's not beautiful basketball, I don't know what is. I mean, that's chemistry right there.
I'm actually really glad you brought that up because that slipped my mind. I was going to bring that up, but yeah, outstanding play. Dub all night, just best game of his career. One other thing, he had those 41 points, but 7 of them came from the free throw line, and he went 7 for 7. Yeah, and J-Dub's been a little streaky at the line recently, so that's big for us as well.
Yes.
Didn't he also have like 7 or 8 assists?
He had 7 assists, 0 turnovers.
Insane. That's such a good game for him.
That is crazy. That is
insane. If we can get that production out of him in the playoffs, the sky is the limit for this team.
I think we're all expecting that second playoff year leap from him. I know we made the play-in the year before, but I'm not counting that. So this is our second playoff run. But like Sapir said earlier, he brought up the 2 teams to have 30-plus points and 0 turnovers in a game. But they also dished out 7 and 8 assists and grabbed 6 and 4 rebounds respectively and shot over 50%.
Yeah.
So just know how great the players are we have on our team. And I see a lot of J-Dub hate on Twitter recently. We got to get those accounts off of Twitter, man, because J-Dub, I promise, that is not the real OKC fans. The real OKC fans want you here forever, man. Don't look at those, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I'm on Twitter a lot, obviously, and like I've had to call out some of the accounts where it's like, hey guys, these guys will not stick around with us if we're a small market, and on top of that, we're not supporting our guys, at low points because they see this, especially guys like J-Dub, J-Will. These guys are on socials, right? And we know, like, obviously a lot of it is for interactions, clicks, things like that, but it also has real effects on the fan base itself when a guy like J-Dub, he takes notice to social media stuff, and he'll go dark sometimes on socials because of stuff like this. And you never know, it could impact his play during playoff time. So I want everyone to kind of, keep the positivity even when things go down, because all these guys are like super talented. Like J-Dub's an all-star in his like 3rd year or something. Like this dude's ridiculous. And he's a top 10 perimeter defender already as it is. Like crazy long arms. He can kind of do it all. So he still has so much growth to have. And I mean, he can get to the level of like an SGA, if he just continues to grow his offensive game. He has the wingspan, he has the shot making ability,
He has the defensive ability. So, yeah.
This might be bold, but I could see a strong comp for his ceiling being something very similar to Kawhi Leonard. Just an incredible two-way player, great
I've seen
defender.
that comp. I've seen that comp floating around.
Sick. I have not. That's awesome. But like that just feels like something that absolutely he could potentially become, and I feel like we see it more just the season all around. And talk about those haters on the Twitter as well. We need to realize that we're witnessing what is potentially going to be, if not already, the greatest Oklahoma City Thunder basketball season ever. Stop. Just stop with the hate, dude. Like, sit back and watch.
Here's the thing, Gabe. A lot of these accounts are run by the guys who didn't get to watch the team that went to the NBA Finals, the team that made it to the conference finals again, the team that went through injuries with Durant and Westbrook. They didn't get to go through all that. They're just so spoiled, so they're seeing one game. So,
good point.
Yeah. So that's why we should disregard a lot of those accounts.
Yeah.
But moving forward here, some big games coming up for OKC. I'm pretty excited for them because we've been having, these easier matchups, even though they haven't been that easy. Home against Houston on Monday. I want to absolutely kill Houston at our home court. All these Houston fans talking smack for what? I don't know what reason is what's propelling them to do this. And then Wednesday, the game got flexed to ESPN, which I'm super excited about, even though I don't love the broadcast. I do like being on national television. Yeah, in Memphis, late game, 8:30 Central Time. So big games coming up for sure.
I want to talk about the Houston game that's coming up. That one, Houston has our number in the sense of they come out to play against us. They have a personal vendetta against the Thunder, like that fan base, and especially the coach, the players. There is some sort of malice on their end. It feels like more so than ours. Like we're like, we're there, but like I think the guys need to start taking notice from like a defensive standpoint. Like these guys are going to come to play every time they play us, more so than all the other teams. From every time I've seen them battle against us, they want to win and destroy us.
So that's definitely true, but that over the past few years, honestly, it's starting to rub off on OKC, and I think we want to destroy them as well. So they're going to have to deal with us before we deal with them.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that kind of translates more so than the fan base to the players. The players don't come with a sense of urgency the same way the Rockets players come. Like for the first 3 quarters, they're so locked in on like defense. Like I've never seen any the other teams do that to us. So I need these guys to come a little bit more prepared for this upcoming matchup because we can really get smacked if we don't.
Sure.
Can't let. Yeah, I mean, under the radar player, but you can't let Fred VanVleet get hot again and become a Thunder killer.
Another really underrated player they have is Whitmore. Cam Whitmore can absolutely come out of nowhere and make a difference in a game.
Sorry, bringing that up. There is an Instagram comment that we can lead right into. Actually, it's from Joe.Nathan.Pillow. Does the Thunder have the most career high games against? He was mentioning Castle tonight. I don't know the specific stat on that, but it sure does seem that way. Every role player on every single team in the NBA loves
PJ Washington.
OKC.
So
yeah, probably. I mean, this dates back to when I first started watching, and probably.
I can agree with that as well. But Stephon Castle, man, he's not just some bum, though. I mean, Stephon Castle is not just some random role player. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league, and he's starting to really prove it as well. But, it just definitely feels like we always have someone just go off like crazy. Yep. But Castle, I don't know. That's a different one. I've loved him since he played at UConn, so I'm excited to see where his career goes. I'll probably be a fan of his most of his career. So
I'll be okay to say that I'm a fan of
Joe Nathan also raised another good question that could be up for debate. He asked if J-Dub could potentially go down as Presti's top pick ever.
If Chet can't stay fully healthy and have a fully healthy career where he hits a ceiling, I would agree. It's definitely J-Dub. I mean, at least right now until we see him pull off another pick or trade 7 picks for Cooper Flag or something. You never know.
I'll let you guys answer that question before I do.
It depends on what you think Jalen Williams' ceiling is, but I really agree with Gabe on the Kawhi comparison. I literally think he could become a Kawhi level player, and if he does, there's a chance that you have to keep in mind Presti got him at what, pick 12?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joe just pointed that out as well. He said with Chet, however, he was a higher pick. So that's a great point. Yeah, and you just mentioned that too, Landon. I mean, that value at pick 12 is just absurd.
I
Yeah, I would say
Sabri,
yes because it's rare you get a player of that caliber that late in the lottery.
Literally an all-star in a second. Yeah.
Sabri, go ahead because I'm going to answer this question last.
Yeah, I mean, we've had tremendous other great picks to say that, but I think the ceiling that he needs to have is of a guy that comes to my mind is Scottie Pippen. I mean, super old school pickup name here, and maybe younger audiences may not recognize his game as much, but from the fact that obviously Shea is dubbed as like Maple Jordan as a nickname, he is that Scottie Pippen to Shea in this modern time, and he has that same play style, defensive intensity. He can kind of be the guy where it's like, Shea has an off game, he can go off for a 41-30 point game, and the other times that we don't need him to do that, he can kind of do everything else. And that's exactly the role Scottie Pippen played, and he's so underrated in that he doesn't get the same level of recognition as Michael, but he has those 6 wins alongside Michael, and Michael wouldn't have gotten to that point without Scottie. And I think the same case is for Shea if we don't have J-Dub at that same caliber. So as an all-star,
I mean, I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid here, but you can't forget Aaron Wiggins was picked in the 50s. That is an insane pick.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I think we're forgetting that Sam Presti drafted Russell Westbrook. So he's going to have to reach Russell Westbrook heights to be the best pick in Sam Presti's career. Hopefully he does. I'm not saying he won't. I really think this guy's going to be something special. He also just posted on his Instagram story a picture of Lou in the locker room and said first team all crash out. So that's pretty funny.
That is hilarious.
Can we speak on that real quick?
Yeah.
Why was he ejected?
No idea.
No idea.
What?
It's like I have no idea.
Even Royce Young tweeted. He was like, "Yeah,
The
that
NBA
was fun,
doesn't.
but why is Lou getting ejected?"
Yeah, no.
The NBA doesn't want another Malice in the Palace, I guess.
Yeah, no, it kind of reminds me of it kind of reminds me of the DeMarcus Cousins type treatment, where he's just a player who's known as being kind of rougher and not rougher, but more aggressive. So they're just gonna give him garbage for no reason just because he's a rougher player. So if a fight happens, they're gonna look and be like, "Well, I'm sure Lou Dort had something to do with this." Like,
yeah, Lou
it's not that bad.
He doesn't get technicals. He doesn't start fights. He just bodies.
Right. He's just
smaller than him.
He's just a big dude. Like he's a linebacker.
Yeah, or a fullback.
Yeah, well, he gets the Draymond Green type of criticism by other fan bases. Yeah, he has that same rep around him. And when fan bases say stuff like that about Lou Dort, it kind of carries over to the refs, whether they want to acknowledge that or not. So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous, but there is bias there, and
unfortunately,
you just kind of have to deal with it. So
yeah, for sure. Xavier, I did want to kind of go back and mention your Scottie Pippen comp was like, I love that.
Spot on.
Yeah, that was perfect. I absolutely think you pointed out well with, Shea in that scenario being the Jordan, but that is a really good spot on comparison. I think that makes a lot of sense where he could be that kind of player, and we especially see it with the rebounds and the assists and the defense. I mean, the scoring doesn't matter on some nights, like you mentioned, where he can just do things like this, where oftentimes he has more assists than every other player on our team, other than Shea at times. But the things that this kid can do is absurd. Can't call him a kid; he's older than me. But the things that this guy is capable of is outrageous. I mean, this guy's ceiling. I know, Joe. I agree. Talking about players like Russell Westbrook, I will never diss him. He's the reason I love the sport. But if that ceiling is that Kawhi Leonard type of player, and he hits that ceiling, he could be one of the best picks that he's ever made. So
the other player I could comp him towards is like a souped up version of Paul George, like Paul George at his OKC Thunder peak, but him even surpassing that level of Paul George. I think he can get even more consistent than Paul George was at the time, but that level of defensive caliber. That's kind of the mindset like we're all kind of going towards, is like guys like Kawhi, Paul, Scotty, those are the kind of guys that we're comparing him to, and that should be a ceiling, right? Like, and
I mean,
you
that's a
never know.
pretty
He could
damn
go
good
even,
ceiling, right?
he could go even further than that. But that's where we're kind of setting him up from what we've seen right now. Maybe 2 years from now, we're like, those were a little too low in terms of comps that we were giving him.
Crazy. That would be crazy. But yeah, those kind of like taller two-way athletic players. I mean,
The best player in OKC history coming out of Santa Clara.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think one of the most intriguing things about him when we drafted him was the wingspan. I mean, he had a historically long wingspan, especially for his height, and that's why he's so good at slashing. That's why he's so good at finishing. He has almost a hook shot type layup that he always uses, and then the defense, the blocks, the dunks, the lay. I mean, the guy is physically and talently just gifted. So. A great player, and that's not even talking about the mental side of the game and the attitude that he brings to this team. You take him off this team, it's like, I mean, in a way, he's one of the biggest glue guys we have. So just an incredible player all the way through. Love having him on this team.
He's a great vibes guy too. Tonight with Joe in the press conference where they're stacking up, towels on top of Aaron Wiggins. I mean, love this team. One of J-Dub's main objectives for the rest of the season is to get Joe out of his, mindset when he's doing those interviews and stuff. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up there. We kind of discussed everything in between the game and outside of the game, but we kind of enjoy doing these lives. I think we're going to start trying to do these more after games whenever we can, just being able to kind of talk with some of you guys here and there. It's really fun to engage with you guys and just actually answer a couple of questions, and we'll post anyways on every other platform. So if you missed the live, don't worry. It'll be posted on Spotify, YouTube, and yeah, you guys don't have to miss out on any of this. But as always, thank you guys for listening to the episode and the live. Thank you guys for all the questions that you've been asking. We hope you guys enjoyed the game as much as we did. And Joe, send us home.
Yeah, I just want to mention that fans, the Thunder have improved to 49-11. And next up is the Rockets in about 22 hours for win number 50. And Thunder up, baby, let's go!
Let's go.